Alliance for the Brave, a program that advocates for our active military, veterans, and first responders. Presented by Gear Services Web Design. Alliance for the Brave, serving and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Tune in, join in, and plug in with us around the globe. Welcome to Alliance for the Brave.
In the air everywhere across America, you're listening to Alliance for the Brave, where we bring education, information, and communication to today's veterans, active duty military, and American patriots who will join us. And we also always want to include our first responders, especially the people who are on the medical front lines. I'm Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran, certified senior advisor, and I'm here to help you. So always, if you want to communicate, send me an email through allianceforthebrave.com. Hey, today is stepping back in history for me. Today is bringing back a big part of my life. I want to introduce you to Captain George Galdorisi, United States Navy retired helicopter rescue pilot. George, welcome aboard, sir.
Thanks so much for having me on Alliance for the Brave. Really appreciate the opportunity to connect with your listeners. So it's a good Saturday morning here in Coronado where I live, and I hope it is where you are too.
Well, now, wait a minute. In Coronado, it's kind of like heaven. It only rains, or Camelot, rains after 10 p.m. and stops by 6, and it's beautiful and 72 degrees year-round, right?
You know it well, 72 and sunny. That's our weather report.
That's your weather report for Coronado. Captain Galdorisi, or Commodore, you were a hooky-took pilot. You were a SAR rescue pilot in the Navy. Tell us a little bit about some of your adventures there and how it led up to you being a writer and an author.
Well, yeah, so it's a pretty long journey. As you said, I started flying search and rescue. We were based in Pensacola, Florida. We had sea search and rescue. We did plane guard for the USS Lexington, which was the Navy's training carrier, as you know, Jim. And then we did land SAR. And back in those days, aircraft weren't as reliable as they are today. So we'd go out for a week for carrier quals, and every week we'd pick up one or two pilots whose aircraft had decided to quit running. So it was pretty exciting times. You had to be on your toes, but it was a good way to break into my Navy career.
Oh, it's great. That was the Sea Sprite, the little helicopter, and as we talked before, it had all kinds of interesting complications, but that thing was heavily used in the Navy as a search and rescue. Plane guard is what we're talking about when pilots are launching. Our guys in Vietnam, if you went down in the water, HC-1 went and got you. If you went down in country, HC-7 went and got you with gunships. And so it was amazing what you guys did. And I was in a detachment of HC-1, and people really don't understand the precision. Now, that was carrier-based. I know my good friend, and your good friend, Mark Liebman, also a captain, was flying those things off of destroyers, which, Lord have mercy, you talk about got to be precision, unbelievable.
Yeah, well, that's when I was flying the H-2s in the Pensacola Search and Rescue Det, we transitioned to H-46s because all the H-2s were moving into what we call the LAMPS community, Light Airborne Multi-Purpose System, which were the H-2s that were put on frigates and destroyers and cruisers, and that eventually transitioned to the LAMPS Mark III program with the H-60 many years later, much more reliable aircraft.
Captain Galdorisi, what is so amazing is I read your bio, and I talked with, again, Captain Liebman. He talks about how you are the next Tom Clancy of the literary world. And I see on your resume the relationship with Clancy. Tell us a little bit about how you got started as an author and about some of your books. I really, really want to hear about the Coronado book. So please tell us about what you did to get writing.
Well, Jim, Mark's far too kind. He's making me blush. I'm going to have to fuss at him about that. But no, I started writing articles in professional magazines simply because I had commanding officers that said this is what we do. This is our profession. So we have magazines like Naval Institute Proceedings and Naval War College Review. So I started writing for those. I was blessed to have some editors who took some of my pretty rough scribbles and helped me become a better writer. So I was very happily writing articles for professional magazines for a long time. And then again, the old saying is, you make plans that God laughs. My best friend in the world, grew up with them in New York City. A guy named Bill Blake is a fabulously successful screenwriter and lives in Santa Monica, California, just up the road. He was down here visiting. And Jim, I hope none of your viewers are related to the actor Steven Seagal, but we were watching a absolutely wretched Steven Seagal movie.
Yeah, he made a couple of bummers. Yeah.
Yeah, no plot, lots of kinetics, lots of dead bodies. And I said to my friend, I said, well, why don't you write a screenplay, something better than this? And he said, why don't you write a novel? And I kind of harumphed and said, well, I don't write novels. I write professional articles. And you know how it is when you have a friend kind of poking you. So, he kind of poked me and prodded me a little bit and held my hand while I did my first novel. Then I was off and running. I've been doing novels now for quite a number of years.
What was your first novel?
So my first novel was the novelization of the SEAL movie, Act of Valor. And I don't know if you or your listeners saw that. It was back in 2012. What was unique about it that SEALs were the actors. There was no Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie. The movie was the top-grossing movie the week it was released, and we did the novelization, which for your viewers who aren't familiar with that, usually movies go, someone writes a novel and then you make a movie. This movie was made from an original screenplay, so with the screenplay, we took that, my co-author Dick Couch and I took that, and we did the novel Act of Valor, and it was on the New York Times bestseller list for about 3 months. Not because we were the greatest writers in the world, but it was connected to the movie, connected to Tom Clancy, et cetera, et cetera. So it was all good, but it was a great project to work on.
I've got to go back and take a look at these. I've read Mark Liebman's books, and now I got to get yours. I've got so many books on my shelf I've got to read right now. Then you followed that with 3 more New York Times bestsellers. The Tom Clancy's op-ed series, Out of the Ashes, Into the Fire, Scorched Earth. Tell me a little bit about those. Those sound exciting.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jim. Well, because Act of Valor was a bestseller and got Dick Couch and I some notoriety. Taking this way back to Tom Clancy's first book, Hunt for Red October, that book was a bestseller. All of his books were bestsellers. They were big books, and Clancy just wanted to make more money, and he couldn't write any faster. So he created 2 franchises, Tom Clancy's Op Center and Tom Clancy's Net Force, and those were popular in the 1990s and early aughts. And then both of the series stopped. And the people who own the rights to the Op Center series, Tom Clancy's widow, Wanda, and a guy named Steve Pachenik, went to St. Martin's Press and said, hey, we want to restart the series, make some more money. Can you guys find us some writers? So our agent, John Silversack, auditioned Dick and I to start that series, and we started the series. And just to capture in a nutshell, if any of your viewers watched the TV series 24, kind of the same plot lines. The president needs to get something done. He can't have the military do it for several reasons. He can't have the CIA do it, so he turns to this organization, Op Center, to get it done. So we had fun with those books.
Man, yeah, I love Tom Clancy. The Hunt for Red October, There are other books, and I just think those are so fabulous, but they also give an introduction to a world that we don't know about or we don't see unless you were in the military and unless you were involved in some of those things. And one of the things I said to Mark, George, after reading one of his books, and I interviewed him, I said, Mark, this is not fiction. This is fiction based on fact. I know. I was there. And he just started laughing, and he said, yeah, but, well, we can't say that. And I just laughed about that. I think that this is great. The Coronado Conspiracy. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, happy to. So when it was all kind of chronological, when I finished the Op Center series, we did a contract for 4 books, and Jim, we did 1 book a year, which was pretty intense. So we were happy with the way the books turned out, and then Dick and I said, we're not going to live to be 100. We want to get off this treadmill having to do 1 book a year. So we shook hands with St. Martin's and said goodbye. But my new publisher, Brave Ship Books, this Coronado Conspiracy, they say write what you know. So during my career in uniform, I had command of USS Cleveland, and we did drug ops, trying to stop drug smugglers from coming up from South and Central America, and we made a big cocaine bust during that tour. But anyway, so I based the book on, trying to stop drug operations, and Jim, I'm from New York City, so I see a conspiracy everywhere. So the other part of the plot was the military leaders in the country were very dissatisfied with the president. They wanted to get him out of office, and so they concocted a scheme where he would not only be behind a big military operation, but he would put one of his favorite generals in charge of it. And this cabal of senior generals and officers caused the operation to fail. And then, of course, it became a race to keep the president from being impeached. And my protagonist, Rick Holden and Laura Peters, were the ones who had to do that. So pretty much a straight stick military techno thriller, kind of in the Clancy line, but again, writing stuff I knew about.
How fun is that? I mean, that is so exciting. That's a world we never even think about that people would enjoy reading about. And so all of the technical writing you did then gave you the introduction. Now, I heard a story one time about Tom Clancy that the FBI or the CIA or somebody came to knock on his door and said, you were writing about things that are classified. How could you know about these things? And he goes, well, I just went to what was published in Jane's Fighting Ships or whatever. And was that a true story that they really did knock on his door saying, how did you come up with all of this classified information?
Well, I've heard that same story. I can't put my hand on the Bible and say it's true, but it certainly makes sense, particularly back in those days. He wrote that book in 1984. So, he could go to James, he could go to friends he knew, but, today, Jim, there is so much on the Internet to draw from that it's not hard to get the facts and figures on how much the missile weighs or how fast it goes or stuff like that. So,
well, I'll tell you what, let's do.
So, yeah.
How fascinating. When we come back after this break, we're going to be talking more with Captain George Galdorisi about his books and about his career as a writer transitioning from a naval officer. So this is Jim Blythe with Captain Galdorisi. We're talking to you about a fabulous, fabulous new career that this captain did. We'll be right back. You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, where we bring the education, information, and communication to you. Go to allianceforthebrave.com and join us on Facebook at allianceforthebrave.com. We'll be right back after these words from all of our sponsors. You're listening to the allianceforthebrave.com on a Navy Day. Now, George, we're live on Facebook right now. Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay. So we're live on Facebook right now. I thought that was we covered a lot of ground in a hurry, but I thought that was fabulous. Would you like to go, and do you have, for instance, a hero in one of your books? Like in Clancy, it's Jack Ryan, and that he carries that through a number of the Clancy books. I think what was I want to say Indiana Jones played Jack Ryan once, and several other people played him. Do you have a hero in your books that's like that, Jack Ryan?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Thanks for asking. I've got in these Brave Ship books, starting with Coronado Conspiracy, and then For Duty and Honor, and in my most recent one, Fire and Ice, my hero is a guy named Rick Holden, who is a CIA guy who got in a mission, and you can read this in Coronado Conspiracy. He was on a mission in Eastern Europe where it went bad. They had to get him out of the CIA and put him somewhere where he was kind of on ice for a while. So his personnel record was created where he was a Navy Chief Petty Officer, and he was aboard USS Coronado, and then the things that I described happened. And so, yeah, he's the hero I carry through, and he's got two female protagonists, depending on the book. In Coronado Conspiracy, it's Laura Peters. So, and he's not a womanizer. These are just other professional people that he encountered in his work.
I think one of the things, too, that when we go to, now we're going to have a break in just for a minute with about 5 or 6 minutes if you refer to the sheet that I sent you. But I would like to segue into some of the things you wrote from professional writing about artificial intelligence, how big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, how they're changing naval warfare. I think that now, when we come back into this segment that we're going to do, I want to make sure that you give people the proper spelling of your name, how they can look you up, where they can order some of your books, and what books you think that people would really, get a big charge out of reading, especially the Brave Ship books. Let's talk about those a little bit and how people can get them.
Sure, I sure will, Jim. Thanks for the offer.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Coronado Conspiracy. Maybe you can say something exciting about Duty and Honor and Fire and Ice that will make people want to go, get those books, because I do, and I think that would be neat. So, get a little pitch for your books, okay?
Yeah, and if it's okay with you, I'll talk about all of them, but certainly Fire and Ice, I think, is the most contemporary, because the villain, the major villain in Fire and Ice is a man named Vladimir Putin.
Oh, Lord!
It's pretty contemporary, and I wrote it before Putin was pulling some of the things he's doing now. So,
all right.
So yeah, I think that would intrigue readers a lot.
Okay, all right. We're going to be going back to terrestrial radio right now.
Okay.
You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, welcome back. This is Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran, and I'm having a ball talking to Captain George Galdorisi, U.S. Navy retired commanding officer, helicopter pilot. He flew the Hookie Took. I was in HC-1, and let me tell you, that little plane was really not meant to fly, especially with a tail rotor drive shaft that was about the thickness of a beer can. George, my hat's off to you for having flown that thing. I want to talk about your Brave Ship books, especially Duty and Honor and Fire and Ice, and where can people go and get your books?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Well, the reason most of us write is not to make a fortune, which I'm certainly not making, but it's to connect with readers. So that's really why I appreciate being on your show to tell people about my books and see if it interests them. But yeah, they're all available on Amazon. The easiest way to get them, and if you just put my name, George Galdorisi, and I'll spell the last one. It's a tricky last name. It's Galdorisi. In Amazon, my books will pop up, and there you go.
I get, a good Italian boy from New York, and then a helicopter pilot. What a great deal that was. In talking about, tell me a little bit about the plot of Fire and Ice. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, no, well, thanks. Well, the plot of Fire and Ice, Jim, revolves around, a modern-day Russia at its vindictive worst. And as your listeners know, Russian President Vladimir Putin is no friend of the United States, and is always looking to cause mischief around the world. And where he causes the most mischief, as you know, is in Eastern Europe. We've got Russian troops disguised as little green men in the Ukraine. So, my plot line involves Russia just trying to poke the United States, and not to give away the entire story, but Putin uses the fulcrum of the small country of Belarus to try to intimidate Europe. He cuts off their energy supplies, and the United States intervenes to try to push him out of Belarus. As the plot evolves, my protagonist, Rick Holden, Putin, there's an American reporter in Belarus unveiling all of the things Putin is doing, and he gets a little fed up with her, so he has her kidnapped and tortured, and so it starts out as a rescue, to rescue this American reporter, and then in the plot line, some terrorists steal nuclear weapons from a Belarusian army base, nuclear weapons that were never returned to Russia at the end of the Cold War, and then the plot line goes from there. So it's I don't want to say ripped from the headlines, but when I wrote it, I was thinking about Putin kind of looking over my shoulder the whole time.
I'm sure he's probably read it, and probably, I think if I were you, I would stay out of Russia.
Yeah, no, that's not in my travel plans, but thanks. That's good advice for sure.
Well, I mean, I was E4 made E5 to get out, and that we don't tell captains what to do. We just tell them what they want to know. In the book Duty and Honor. Now we're going to be going to a break in just a second, but when we come back from that break, I want to talk about again Duty and Honor and a little bit about that book. Again, spell your last name Galdorisi. George Galdorisi, Captain, United States Navy, retired, correct?
You got it right, Jim. Thanks. We must be related.
Well, I love Italian food, so buddy, I'm anywhere there that even sounds like good spaghetti and meatballs. So in this, you can go to Amazon and get his books. They're incredible books. If you like Tom Clancy, these are the kind of books you want to read and they get you going and excited. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about some of his technical writing as well. So this is Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran, talking to Captain George Galdorisi, retired United States Navy, SAR pilot, commanding officer, technical writer, and tremendous award-winning author. You've got to look his books up. You've got to look him up. George Galdorisi, United States Navy. So we'll be right back after these words from all of our partners. Join us on Alliance for the Brave on Facebook. Send us a note, allianceforthebrave.com. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. Thank you for being part of Alliance for the Brave. Thank you for listening in, and stick around. It's gonna get better. Well, George, I don't know about you, but I am really enjoying this interview.
No, I am too, and I think we're covering, like you said, we're covering a lot of territory. So it's when you talk to a New Yorker, I'm never lost for words. So if I'm talking too much, just interrupt me.
I love
Yeah.
it. The best thing to do though is to tell sea stories. People love sea stories. So if you can tell a sea story or two without giving away the farm, man, go for it. Because remember, stories excite people's imagination. Facts just sort of fall flat.
No, I'm so glad you said that, Jim. When I give briefings, about technical things, I always, or give writing seminars, I'll find this quote and send it to you sometime, but someone said, no one's ever made a decision based on data. They need a story.
You got it.
Yeah, and I worked with engineers who, live and lust after data, but that doesn't drive a decision. It just gives you data.
You're a member of Navy League. I'm on the board of Navy League Dallas. And man,
how are you? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm serving doing communications and helping, and that's how I met Mark, and I've met many, many people. It's a fabulous thing, and I tell young people today, take a look at the Navy. I think, and I'm not just prejudiced, but my experience is the Navy has the best educational systems and the best training overall. So if you want to really be prepared for a new career when you come out, I think the Navy is the best place to do it. And if I'm sitting here looking at your resume and your books, and it goes back to, hey, I was a commanding officer, I had to do technical writing, it's a perfect segue. Really is.
Yeah, no kidding. And the Navy, the Navy is very focused on education, as you know, through your work in the Navy League, and getting young people interested in STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, and math, because that's those are the people who are going to lead tomorrow's Navy. We're not going to be recruiting many poets.
No, but there are a lot of poets who've got a lot of good technical skills as well. But you're right, it is a technical engineering background type thing, and I think that's important. But there's a place, I think, for everybody, because a number of friends of mine, Jim Eichelberger, Cub Amos, they rose to the flag rank in the Supply Corps. And so there's a lot of opportunities. Say you're maybe not an engineer, but you're an accountant. There's opportunities to learn in the Supply Corps and learn logistics. And I know these guys, when they got out, had business opportunities in logistics that were unbelievable. So the Navy training, I went aboard the, the Truman back in 2017, thanks to Woody Beale. And I'll tell you about that later. So here we go. We're going to be back on the air again.
Okay.
Today's program is brought to you by Gear Services Web Design. Visit us on Facebook or online at allianceforthebrave.com. And now, back to Alliance for the Brave.
Welcome back. You got Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran, talking to Captain George Galdorisi, U.S. Navy retired, SAR rescue pilot, commanding officer. George, one of the interesting things we talked about on the break is the Navy and how powerful and how strong its educational system is. You're a graduate of the Naval Academy. You own a master's degree in oceanography. How fun would that be, especially up there in La Jolla? And then postgraduate school, master's degree in international relations, University of San Diego, a graduate of MIT Sloan School's program. Education is so important. And I think the Navy leads the way in education, in my opinion. Of course, a little bit prejudiced. But some of the things that you've done, not just these wonderful novels that you've written, but you've done a lot of technical writing as well, which is really relevant to what's going on today. You've published AI at War. That's artificial intelligence at war, correct? That's got to be the new thing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Jim. So in my day job, I work at Navy laboratory here in San Diego. It's called NIWC Pacific, and that stands for Naval Information Warfare Command. And we're the people who put all the computers and the data links and the satellite links on Navy ships. So we've been doing that for 80 years. And so I work with a lot of engineers and scientists and people in the high-tech world. And I think particularly for the Navy, since unlike the Army or the Air Force, where you can put people in barracks or tents or wherever, there's only limited space on a Navy ship, so the Navy is really, I think, leading in automation to try to have technical means to help sailors be able to do their job without so many sailors. So yeah, we wrote the book. My co-author, Dr. Sam Tangretti, and I wrote the book to really talk about what the Navy of the future is going to be like as we insert big data and artificial intelligence and machine learning into Navy platform systems, sensors, and weapons.
Are any of these publications available to the public? Are these military only?
Oh no, this is an open. This is a full distribution book, and it's published by the U.S. Naval Institute, which has been around for 170 years, focused on books about the Navy. In fact, the Naval Institute published Tom Clancy's first book, Hunt for Red October. So, we did that to the Naval Institute so it would get into the hands of people who read books about the Navy.
So if you're a parent of a young man or a young lady who's excited and interested about technical things, these would be great background books to read to give you some sort of idea. Because without a doubt, I think the Navy is not only a great career, but it's a great place to start your career.
No, absolutely. We, the Navy Education and Training Command is really well renowned for training people. Again, for your background, your career, Jim, in helicopters, you had A school at C school and things that helped you be proficient. So yeah, I think we do a great job of that. And as we pointed out in that book, the Navy is looking to bring young people in that maybe they weren't a linebacker on their high school football team, but they learn coding in school, and they can become computer programmers and have those high-tech skills.
And so much is going on, too, when you talk about automation, the flightless or pilotless planes that are being used. That sort of, the matter of fact, there was a deal I saw on the internet about the Navy doing an in-flight refueling with a pilotless plane. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, no, that's the MQ-25 Stingray, and the reason the Navy's doing that is our Super Hornets, our fighter and attack planes, are only a naval aircraft only has a certain life to it. It's not like your car that you could drive for 50 years if you take good care of it. So every flight hour detracts from that aircraft's lifespan. So to refuel the aircraft, some of the Super Hornets were being assigned the refueling duty. And so the Navy said, well, we don't want to keep wearing these out. So they came up with the MQ-25 Stingray as a refueling aircraft that would just go up there autonomously and drive in a racetrack pattern and let the Super Hornets refuel on it.
I was very fortunate. I didn't get to tell you about this, but when VA 163, my squadron, which was an A4 outfit, came back, we got TA4s. And I volunteered, and I went through all the training, ejection seat training and water training, and I got to fly in the back seat of a TA4, and I got to experience in-flight refueling. I got to experience all of the bombing missions, trainings up in Fallon. Fabulous, fabulous opportunity for a young man I did like 160 hours in 4.5 months. But people don't understand, these planes can go up in the air and they don't stay up there forever without refueling. And in-flight refueling is one of the most amazing things to watch and be a part of that I've ever done.
Yeah, no, it's essential for our carrier airlinks today, and that's why that we brought the Stingray into the Navy to fulfill that mission. And I think the Navy made a wise investment. But to your point, Jim, the technology involved in an unmanned aircraft is more exquisite than the technology in an aircraft that has a pilot, because the unmanned aircraft has to be able to do so many more things without human intervention.
Well, but just got to remember one thing. You may have the unmanned aircraft doing the tanking, but there's got to be a man on the stick that gets that probe into that basket. And that's a pretty tricky deal, because it's done at about 250 miles an hour or more. And that was an amazing thing. In these things, again, let's go back to those books we talked about. How can people access these? The AI at War, how big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning are changing naval warfare. I think these would be fascinating reads, even though they're pretty technical. So if a young man or woman wants to go in the Navy, these are some of the things they ought to be reading. Where can they get these?
Yeah, Jim, just like all my books, they're on Amazon. So if someone would just to punch my name into Amazon, that AI at War book just came out this spring, and it's got some fabulous reviews. One of the reviews we got was from former Secretary of the Navy in the Reagan years, John Lehman, made some kind comments about the book. So yeah, all on Amazon, and you don't even have to get in your car and go to your shopping center. They're right there.
I think that's fascinating. Now, George, a lot of people say, well, how do I know he's good? You received a number of national and international writing awards. Tell us a little bit about some of these rewards that you've gotten, because I'm reading them on your bio, and that's pretty exciting, because when I read these, I'm like, man, I want to go read some of these books. So tell me a little bit about these awards that you've received.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm very blessed to have gotten those awards. The competition is always pretty stiff, and you're not there in the judging room, so when you get one, you're very honored and flattered. But yeah, probably the most significant one, and Jim, you know this as a Navy leaguer, was the Navy League Alfred Thayer Mahan Award for writing, and so that I think was the first major one that I received, and then there have been other ones from the Surface Navy Association and the U.S. Naval Institute and others. But yeah, what it does is it just encourages you to keep writing, and it tells you that what you're writing is striking a chord with folks. So it's been a long journey. I've been doing this for a while, so and I'll probably keep doing it until they take me away from my word processor.
Yeah, well, I think I'm gonna keep doing this till they take me away from the microphone, because I love doing it. And I think it's important to follow your passion. I think it's important. See, you got out of the academy the year that I got out of the Navy, so I'm not that much older than you are. And the most important thing that I know is keep on going. Never quit flying the plane. Keep on working. Keep on doing. And you are the epitome of success of taking your naval career and turning it into a totally new career. A career as an award-winning author.
Well, no, and again, it's I mentioned this earlier. You make plans and God laughs, but I had not grown up wanting to write books or anything like that, and it all sort of happened by happenstance. But if it's okay, I just wanted to mention one of my other nonfiction books, if that's okay.
Please.
Yeah. So I think most of your listeners, Jim, probably remember the famous photo in Times Square of the sailor kissing the nurse.
Yeah, without a doubt. It was on Life magazine. Was on the cover of Life magazine.
Exactly. So the backstory there is, on August 14th, 1945, there were rumors that the war, might be ending. So Life magazine sent their stud photographer, Alfred Eisenstadt, to Times Square and said, Alfred, get the picture. And he saw the picture of this sailor kissing a nurse, and the picture became world famous. Well, the backstory is the sailor, George Mendonza, and his girlfriend at the time, Rita, were in Radio City Music Hall watching a bell for Adana. And someone banged on the door and said, the war is over, so you're in New York City. Where do you go to get the truth? There's no Facebook, there's no Twitter. You go to Times Square to see the ribbon. Well, the same thing happened to a woman who was not a nurse but a dental assistant, but the uniforms looked the same, Greta Zimmer Friedman, and she was in her dentist office, and someone said the war ended, so she went to Times Square. And there were things we describe in our book, The Kissing Sailor, that during the war, George Mendonza had seen Navy nurses trying to help sailors who were horribly burned or otherwise injured. And so he was bound and determined to go to Times Square and kiss the first nurse he saw. So he kissed Greta. Well, Alfred Eisenstadt got separated from his photographer, so he didn't get the people's names. They didn't say, hi, my name is George, my name is Greta. They went their separate ways. So in 1980, 35 years after the war, Life magazine said, you know what, it's been 35 years after the war, let's do a retrospective, and would the real sailor and nurse please raise your hand? Guess what happened, Jim?
Oh, a lot of sailors and nurses probably raised their hand.
Well, they did, but these people weren't charlatans. 35 years later, and there was a lot of liquor being poured that day, and, you can look at that picture and go, yeah, that's me. And so Life magazine had made a corporate decision. They could either help solve the mystery or let chaos reign. And guess what they did? They let chaos reign.
Yeah.
And so for decades, there's been all of this controversy about who the people are. So in this book, The Kissing Sailor, which was also published by Naval Institute, Jim, my co-author and I proved who the people were. And we did it, it's really a joyful book to write because we did it so their children and their grandchildren and others would truly know who those people were. So yeah, it's a fun story. It's kind of a love story, and we did it so those folks would be recognized.
How exciting! How great! Well, I got to tell you, we're going to be going to our break in just a second, our last break. Again, I want people to know this is a great, great opportunity for you to get some terrific books. Here we are. We're going to be coming up on the 4th of July pretty soon. You want an explosive book to read? Go to Captain George Galdorisi, Galdorisi, U.S. Navy retired. He was a SAR rescue pilot. He was a commanding officer, commanded ship. Flew around in a crazy helicopter. I got to tell you, I know. I tried to keep those dudes in the air. It wasn't easy. So when we come back, we're going to close out with Captain Galdorisi. And again, go to George Galdorisi, and you're going to find on Amazon some great books. I want you to take a look at them because I am. This is Jim Blythe with Alliance for the Brave. We're going to close out, but we're here for you. Go to allianceforthebrave.com. Send me a note. Send me a message. Love to talk to you. We'll be right back. Oh, George, that was so cool that we got into the Kissing Sailor deal.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, honestly, of my 15 books, my wife Becky would tell you that's her favorite because it really is it's a dear it's a dear story, and it's not just the proof. It's we've described the book to our publisher, Naval Institute, as the 5 Ps. It's the picture, the most famous picture, probably other than the raising the flag at Guadalcanal. It's the place, Times Square, which is the crossroads of the world. It's the publication, Life magazine, which is, Jim, from growing up, that was how we saw the world. I mean, Life magazine brought you the world, and then it's the people who all had exciting stories. None of them should have been alive in 1945. They escaped death remarkably. And then it's the proof that George Mendoza and Greta Zimmer Friedman were actually the people. So yeah, if you have a chance to read it, I'd love your feedback. It's a very cool story.
I'm gonna go for it. I think that'd be great. I tell you what, Diane and I we'll probably this fall fly out to San Diego, and we'll go up to Montgomery Field or maybe to Brown Field because we have our own plane, and we're going to be coming out there and want to take you and your wife to dinner, someplace really neat. My favorite restaurants are gone. Tarantino's was a great one that I loved. I think Anthony's Seafood Grotto is probably gone now. But
yeah, sadly it is.
Yeah. San Diego, some of the greatest cuisine, a lot of Italian, a lot of Portuguese people that live there. Oh, man, there have been some great restaurants in San Diego. You want fresh tuna, that used to be the place to go.
No, it still is. We still have a pretty robust fishing fleet, so you can get fresh fish every day of the week, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, my cousin is a retired Navy lieutenant commander. He was the guy that sat in the back of the E-2 Hawkeye and handled the computer. Brilliant man. They live in Chula Vista, and his wife is a retired lieutenant commander as well. I actually introduced him. I'm not sure they're still speaking to me, but anyway, they.
We've always said the E-2 guys are the ones that direct the banana-eating monkeys who fly the Hornets to where they're supposed to be. So.
Yeah, I was on the Oriskany and the Hancock, and Billy was on the Midway and the Coral Sea. I think maybe a couple of other ships. You know, I wish people could get a chance. I wish they would do Dependence Day cruises or quick one-day cruises. Someday they'll do it again, because there is nothing like going out on an operating aircraft carrier or an operating ship and experiencing the sea and experiencing what we went through. You can't understand it till you've been there, till you smelled it. And when I got on the flight deck on the Truman in 17, it brought all of that back. All of the smells, all the sounds, all of that. So we're going to be back on the air.
The smell of JP is unmistakable.
Yeah, and we'll be back on the air in half a second there, Captain. I'm looking forward to this.
You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, welcome back. And if you're in some of our new affiliates in Iowa or Arizona or Nevada, California, the East Coast, I want you to go talk to George Galdorisi by looking him up. And you're going to find some great books, and you're going to have conversations by reading his books. So go take a look at Galdorisi, Galdorisi. I think his books are exciting. He worked with the Clancy Op-Ed Center. You know Tom Clancy was great. I think this man is going to be even greater. George, as we close this program out, this has been an exciting opportunity to talk to you. Tell me, what would you say to a young man or woman who's in high school or in college and might be thinking about the opportunity to get started in life in the military?
Yeah, well, I could use myself as an example. Jim, I grew up in New York City, went to a very good high school, very engineering focused, and it was like you had your whole life programmed for you. So I joined the Navy for adventure. And, 30 years went by really fast. It was an adventure. So I think for any young man or woman thinking about the U.S. Navy, you get to work with high technology. You get a great education. And you actually get to go to some really cool places. When I was commanding officer of USS Cleveland. We went to Colombia. We went to Ecuador. We went to many places in the U.S., Portland, Key West, Seattle, you name it. So what a great way to see the world without being a tourist. So I couldn't encourage young people more highly to give the Navy a shot.
I got to tell you, I went to Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, the Philippines, Okinawa. I got a great opportunity to travel, but I developed friendships and relationships and experiences, everything from flying in the backseat of an A4 to working with some of the greatest men and women in the world in the Navy. And I tell people, this is a great start. It ain't what you think it is. It's better. So, Captain Galdorisi, thank you. I always close out my program with a prayer. So I would like to say a prayer. Dear Lord Jesus, we thank you for protecting our active duty men and women who are serving us around the world and keeping us safe, whether it's in the air, out in the sea, or on the ground. Thank you for what they do to protect us. Thank you for their service. Thank you for our veterans who have served and are so involved in our community today and all they're doing. And thank you for our first responders. Thank you for protecting this country. Guide us and direct us as we pray in Christ's name today. Thank you. Amen. Captain Galdorisi, this has been a great honor to have you on board of Alliance for the Brave. We are so thrilled to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Been delighted to be on the show and connect with your listeners, and look forward to doing it again downstream.
All right. Thank you. Again, thank you for being part of Alliance for the Brave. Connect with us on Alliance for the Brave. Thank you to Brittany, my engineer, who's done a fabulous job. For my beautiful wife, Diane, all she does in social media. For Robin, thank you, Robin, for all you do for us. And for Toya in London, thank you for being on board. This is Alliance for the Brave. Stay with us. We'll be back next week with something really exciting for the 4th of July. I hope you'll enjoy it. Have a great day.
Barely even 18, not sure what lies in store.